Hello, hello. Good afternoon, everybody. I was just going to say morning, but it's 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, my time. How's everybody doing today? It is still very cold here in the Boston area. It is 23 degrees. I cannot, absolutely not wait until spring. So it's been a little tough here, I have to say. We had a couple of storms. It wasn't so big. And it's been okay, I have to say. I wish I was somewhere else. I have to tell you, like last year, or maybe it was a couple of years ago, I went to Iceland. I absolutely love Iceland. Like I would move there in a heartbeat because an average is only like 62, 63 degrees, and that's the warmest, which I'm fine with. It's cloudy, which I like because I can't deal so much with the sun. Uh, so it's very ideal for me, but it's not as easy to move there. But it is what it is. So, anyways, Laura is going to be joining us shortly. She's just having technical issues, so she's going to be joining us shortly. So you guys just have me. So I have with me my cocktail of the afternoon. So what I did is I added like about an ounce of pineapple vodka, and then I added an ounce of blackberry liquor, and then the rest of it I filled with cranberry juice. Now, I wasn't sure how the pineapple would taste, but I mean, it's not so bad. I'm just going to keep on exploring and keep on sipping throughout the podcast. So cheers. So who do we have with us today? We have Mary. Mary, thank you so much. We have Jamie. Hi, Jamie. How's it going? We have Jamie Watson. Thank you so much. And yeah, that's making sure I don't miss anybody. Oh, it's supposed to start warming up next week finally. I should hope so, but I don't. Well, I think it's supposed to be in the 40s up here starting next week. So I certainly hope so because I'm all done with winter. I really am. Cynthia, thank you. Thank you so much for joining. I'm definitely going to, I sub to your channel and I'm definitely going to tune in. I'm definitely going to tune in to your first podcast. I'm very, very excited. Very excited. What else do I have? And I just want to do a couple of shout outs. I want to just do a couple of shout outs. Sorry, I just fogged my mind for a minute. No, it's not the drink, really. I just want to say, thank you for my mods. Jamie is new now modding for me. So thank you so much, Jamie. We have Carla. Carla, I love your dedication and supporting various channels. I see her, just putting out on there on Facebook, just supporting them, just shouting out their channels. So thank you so much. And I truly appreciate it. She's honestly my mod as well. We have Laura here. Laura, how's it going?
Hello.
Hello. Are you okay?
Technical difficulties. Wait. Yeah, just nothing was working. I'm like, oh my God, no, not now. Don't do this to me now. So I think everything's working. Can you hear me fine?
I could hear you absolutely perfect. Perfect.
Okay. Because I got stuff blinking and doing all kinds of stuff. And I'm thinking, oh, shit.
It always happens. That hasn't happened to me recently, but, I've always had that difficulty as well. So no worries. You're here.
I'm here. I made it.
So I was just gabbing away about, how supportive the mods are, and big shout out to Carla that's posting, shares on Facebook and, just chit-chatting.
Okay, you were holding it together. I appreciate it.
I was holding it together.
My bad, guys. Sorry, I'm late.
That's perfect.
Turn everything on, and it's like a black screen, and I'm like, black screen? What the heck is going on? See, my background's still squirrely, so.
That's you know what? I've been perfectly lazy lately, so I just have a background in the back because I just, with the kittens, I don't want them to be like dangling off the background.
So you can see the green screen.
I really.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to set up anything permanent. until I do my studio. I'm moving my studio, so I've got stuff for it, so I don't have to use green screen. But
I'm
that's
gonna
just yet to come.
I'm gonna start clearing out and finding a little nook where I could set up and have just like something on the wall because
Right.
I get tired setting it up, taking it down, cutting it up.
Yeah. That's just a big
So
pain in the cheeks.
so now that I just completely blabbered on and on, let's actually interview our guest and bring
Okay,
him
we could do
on.
that. Yeah, we
All
could do that.
right.
Yeah.
All right. So this is actually the first time I actually met Shane one-on-one, but I'm very happy to have him on our show. I see him all over, the All Access Network. So let's bring him on and let's give a warm welcome to Shane.
Hey guys.
Hi.
Hello,
Hey,
welcome.
thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure
Oh,
being
you're
here.
welcome.
Well, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Yes, man. And your screen isn't that bad. I saw little things right there, but it's
Yeah,
you both have very creative screens behind you.
thank you. Yeah, no, I don't know what the hell. Everything went squirrely, and it's always like the last second. And I'm
It's the
thinking,
gremlins.
yeah, that's what it is.
See, it is. Yeah, I have to pretend not to move because then I get a little bit fuzzy as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, the green
So,
shows up.
yeah.
You're swallowed by the green energy, so don't worry
I
about it.
know. So Shane, tell us about yourself.
My name is Shane McLain. I'm the founder of Outer Realms Paranormal. Um, I am also a licensed and ordained minister. I specialize in spiritual warfare and demonology. So I try to help families, with identifying if they have paranormal issues. I was a pastor for 3 years in a church, and I stepped away because we were having families coming in that had real issues. That I mean, if you in some of these churches that you go in, if you mention anything paranormal, it's automatically demonic. Everything's demonic. And I knew that wasn't true because I had my first encounter when I was 10 years old. I saw my grandfather, and I know what I saw, and I know what I felt. I remember it clear as day, like it was yesterday. And you can't tell me different. So I knew that not all hauntings, not all paranormal issues had things to do with demonic. So I really wanted to dig down deep in and really find out, what makes demonic, what are the stages, for that so I can recognize it. And through that, it has really helped me with identifying, supernatural just things that go on, and I've been able to help families, help teams, with clearing and cleansings, and just really. And now I'm part of All Access Network Television, where I have a podcast, and it's bridging the seen and unseen on All Access. And I've got a great producer there. And my goal is trying to bridge the gap between paranormal and clergy. And I think it's very important because if you're going to be in the paranormal field, then I do believe that teams should have access to a way to where they can protect themselves, the people that are around them, and they can actually help people, help families that really need help with those issues.
My question is for you. What is your formal training, and who did you apprentice under before you set out on your own?
Well, I was in Bible college. I went to Bible college, Guido Bible College, and you know I learned demonology under Larry Guido, and there was another father Torres, and I was able to learn a lot from the Catholic side and a lot of the well, kind of like deliverance side. But I've seen them both. And like the very first time that I ever had that I actually had a demonic encounter, it wasn't like at someone's house or anything like that. It was actually in a church.
Okay.
And and it really blew my mind, on what happened there. And I mean, just to be able to get in and study theology, and like I said, I've studied theology for 28 years, and I've wanted to really find out the truth behind it and really know, because there's a lot of interpretations and the way that people see things. And I've seen some people that claim exorcists and exorcisms that I wouldn't even be in the same room with them if they said that. So I mean, I take what I do very seriously, and I study to just make myself better every single day.
Right.
Wow,
So, do you
that's
consider yourself a an exorcist or just a demonologist?
I'm
Because
I'm a resident demonologist for Spur. I'm a resident demonologist for them. But there's no degrees or anything. I am a minister. I am a licensed and ordained minister. I've been licensed and ordained since 2016. I was actually commissioned in front of 300 people, and it's a whole process. When you get like that, and like I said, I was a full time pastor for 3 years, but I stepped away because when families came in with real issues, the most that they heard was, "Oh, we'll put you on a prayer list." You know,
okay, right.
people preach on spiritual warfare, but they don't really know how to handle spiritual warfare.
Well, because another my follow up. Sorry, Susan. My follow up question is because
Mhm.
if depending on what faith and denomination you're following, generally the Catholic or Christian faith believes that only exorcisms and things like that are done through an ordained priest
Yes.
who has been trained specifically for these tasks, and also has to have permission from the bishop.
Yep. Yep.
Do you also get permission?
Yes, I've got several. Father Ken Torres. I'm a part of the International Order of Exorcists. So I'm very familiar with that. And yes, the term exorcism itself is actually a Catholic term.
Right.
So outside of the Catholic faith, the apostolic faith, that you have deliverance. And when people do deliverances, there's things that are very questioned about that also. But I do believe in finding the root of the problem. And a lot of times, people want to jump right in and just have an exorcism done, and that's not how you do it. I mean, honestly, if we take cases, and I work cases, with the international order, and with other teams and things like that, it's a 6 month process. Because we have to get physicals, we have to get psychological evaluations, we have to be able to tell the difference in between, what's mental health, and if there's a diagnosis, medications, we look at trauma, we look at family life, we look at all kind of things. We identify everything that we can identify first. If a tree is producing bad fruit, you don't stand underneath the limb and watch it continuously produce bad fruit. You have to quit looking at the limb and the fruit, and you have to start examining the root. If you fix the root of it, then the fruit gets better, right?
Right.
And
Well, yes, that
that's
would have
my
been my
whole.
follow-up question. What would your procedure be? Would you have them do a mental health
Oh,
examination?
100%, 100%. And anybody that will just jump to an exorcism right off, and say that it's a one and done deal, that's not true. Because you build and you find out more about this person than what they've probably known about themselves, and you really get involved in their lives, and there's aftercare, there's things of that nature that regular people that just jump and do that, they don't do. They think they can come in and they can pop YouTube on their channel, and all of a sudden they have these exorcisms that, I mean, there's some out there that are online right now that actually scare me, because of just how unprofessional they are. And it's just a horrible name. And to be honest with you, everybody thinks that every single, like, when you go on an investigation or whatever, that you have to look out for demonic activity and things of that nature. Do you know how many cases I work that are actually demonic? 1%.
Yeah, I was
I
gonna
was
say
just
it
going to
has to
say
be
that.
at
Yeah.
least 1%.
1%. And I mean, there's things that you have to look out for. There's certain things, there's that. Now I'll give you an example. You take someone with manic schizophrenic,
Mhm.
and then you take demonic oppression, which is the stage before possession. There's characteristics in there to where both of them resemble each other. So you have to know how to tell the difference. But honestly, if you take somebody and you're hearing 4 and 5 voices coming out of them, they're speaking different languages that they have never spoke before, levitation, you know, like just almost superhuman strength. That's things that mental health have nothing to do with. And another thing is, when you do a psychological evaluation, it's not a one and done thing either. It's continuous, because you sign a release with us to where we can see where the medications or whatever diagnosis that you have, and we try to filter out what your diagnosis is, and if it is spiritual, then that's where we move into the exorcism part. But it's a long process.
Hmm.
Okay. Julie had a question. She wanted to know, where is that college located that you went to?
In Georgia. It's in
Okay.
Georgia, in Metter, Georgia.
I actually have a question. So you mentioned that you ran into a demonic spirit in the church. Now, everybody maybe has a misperception that demonic presence can't go in a sacred place. Is that true?
No, not necessarily, because if a person is, like, the side of them can go in, but there's certain trigger points that happen, like if they touch a religious object, or it just happened that this guy that was standing behind me, the worship music came on, and that's one thing that will absolutely, will turn a demon, like,
Mm-hmm.
right off, is worship, because that's the one thing that the demon's against. A demon, even in a church, a demon wants to tear you up from the inside out. It's the same thing with the church. If you read in the book of Revelation and stuff like that about the 7 churches, it talks about the Antichrist and Satan, infiltrating the inside and destroying the churches from the inside out. So no, no, no,
Okay.
there's demons, there's demonic influences sitting right in churches today, and people don't realize that. But I'm telling you, some of the worst people that I've ever known in my entire life have come out of a church.
Okay. And is it always true that they speak in Latin?
No. um Jesus' language was Aramaic. Jesus' language, I've heard Aramaic, I've heard Latin. There's several different things, and then another thing is like uh like German. Like, for instance, because they used to say that Hitler was an antichrist, and there's many antichrists and stuff like that. So a lot of times, like, a true demon, like, it's a powerful demon. If it's legion, or with multiple of them, they can speak different languages of the people that were posed as antichrist. Like Hitler. Latin's real big because of the Vulgate, and and also Antoine LaVey, a lot of the castings that he would do, in the satanic faith, were in Latin.
Okay. What are the common misconceptions about exorcisms and the paranormal that you frequently encounter, would you say?
Well, first of all, that not all hauntings are demonic, and and like if you turn on YouTube today, that's the one thing I tell investigators and everything. I said, don't go with a YouTube education, because if you turn on YouTube and you see everything's demonic. Everything's demonic. If a coffee cup flies across the room, like I'm a dialysis patient. And so I had to do a clearing and cleansing of one of my nurses, and she was having paranormal issues, and she was told because the door handles were shaking. I was actually on the phone with her when a hairbrush was thrown across the room, and she was told by these demonic teams, or these teams, that it was demonic. These paranormal teams, that it was demonic. And well, we went in and we found, and I mean, if a demon is there to literally, there's manifestation, there's infestation, there's oppression, and there's possession, and there's stages to it.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to really know what you're looking for when you see that. And I would definitely say that before you really are working with a client and you drop the demonic word, to really know what you're talking about, because that can really set somebody back. I did a case for a lady and her child, and literally every time she would leave the house, she would come back and her cabinets would be open. She had a team go in there, and this lady was getting ready to move her family. She was scared to death because she was told that there was a demonic presence there. And I'm sorry, but you think a demon is really going to waste his time, just opening and try to scare you with cabinets? No, that's not going to do that. So we went in and did a proper investigation. We found out 6 months before we had gotten there, her husband was on a motorcycle, left the house, and he was in a tragic car accident and he died. And so she was still in recovery from all that. Well, we found out that one thing that he used to do is she used to wash dishes, and he would go back behind her and he would open the cabinets. And this lady was told that a demon is doing that. And we found out that it was her husband, you know, wanting to let her know that he was still there with them. So you see, I mean, something like that, I mean, that could have like changed the outcome of this woman's life forever.
Exactly.
And that's so dangerous, just to put that out there, to do it. So I'm very careful. I'm very careful with even using that term, especially on an investigation and things like that, because let's face it, you start dropping those and you're with the wrong people. And I mean, that woman could have been, her and her child could have been affected for the rest of their lives. And I wasn't going to do that.
Absolutely. So we do have a question. Hopefully I don't squish the hell out of this, but so Kelly Highlander, hopefully I got that right. What's a checklist that the Council of Bishops go to determine possession or doctors are needed?
Well, like I said, there's an entire process there. I mean, it's not a one and done thing, because once you get signed off by a bishop, the reason why a bishop is because they are, it's supposed to be, there's like well, in the church, in the Catholic Church, the bishop is like one of the highest that you can get. Archbishops or some of the highest you can get underneath what the Pope is. But then you have independent also. So each one has a different method of how they do. But we always do a very thorough investigation. We do an interview process, not only with you, but with your family. We find out all kinds of issues. I'm telling you, it's a 6 month process.
Hmm.
And we have to have certain things. We eliminate, even in the paranormal, one of my first rules for my team is debunk everything obvious first. So we try to eliminate everything. So there's a lot of paperwork that we have to do. We have to hold everything. We have to have the medical evaluations. We have to have, I mean, there's so much that you have to do, because honestly, if you pull off and you get signed off as an exorcism and something bad happens, you know you could spend the rest of your life in prison. And not only that, but these families can lose their loved one. So there is a lengthy process behind all this.
What are some of the questions that you would ask a potential client when you do your interview?
Where I try to, like I said, I try to find out the root of the issue a lot of times. And believe it or not, you'll get more answers usually from the people that are around the client, like the family members, friends. I mean, people that have seen, that can testify, like that. How long has this been going on? How long is the behavior starting? And I mean, you ask about their behaviors. You ask about their, if they're getting any kind of treatment behind it. Um, I can show you guys. I wish I would have known that you guys needed, because I have a whole checklist, that we're giving by the international order, that we actually have to go by, that we have to put that in every time we have to go through. And even if it's not a demonic case, we still check all these things off just in case that does come up and people are thinking that it is demonic. We have to be able to identify that 100% right off.
Okay, we have a question from Ryan. Have you seen objects moving or someone who talks in a language that they should not know?
Yeah. Absolutely. Like, the guy that was in the church, the worship, he was standing behind me. He was extremely quiet. He was literally right behind me. And the worship music came on. And as soon as the worship music hit, as soon as it started bringing and initiating the Holy Spirit in there, this guy's chair flew up against the wall and he fell down and his body started contorting, and I heard multiple different voices coming out of this guy, multiple different. And I mean, they'll start speaking, like you said, Latin, in different languages. It's something. It's a set of tongues that the person uses, that the person itself would not be able to identify. Why they were speaking it. So that was a very scary thing for me, especially to see that into a church.
So let's talk about Outer Realms Paranormal.
Yeah.
How did you form that, and how did you think of the name?
I've always been in the paranormal since I was 10 years old. I had my first encounter when I was 10 years old. So I've always been searching for this, and and I was following several teams and things of that nature. And hold on, sorry.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
they got him.
Yes. Hopefully. Oh my God. I hope he's okay.
They got him. The demons got him.
Oh my God.
See, it's good for talking. Yeah.
What is it? Well, hopefully he'll be back shortly.
So
Hopefully.
he could ask us that question, right?
I know. Oh
So
boy.
I'm not the only one that's having internet issues. See?
Here we go. Are you okay?
Sorry, yeah, this cat just knocked over my whole coffee cup and it went all over the side of my table.
No.
Mm. No, but I started Outer Realms because my wife and everybody, I was helping all these teams and I was helping and my wife and several other people like Shani Page from the UK and stuff like that. They're like, "Oh, why don't you just start your own?" And I'm like, I don't know if I really wanted to do that because, like I said, I am a dialysis patient, so I do I have medical issues that I do, and I didn't want to, but I have found that having a team and working paranormal, and doing things that I do have actually helped me. My levels have improved. Um, a lot of it that goes on, a lot of is mental health. When you're a dialysis patient, your mental health is really important to keep in check. And so I've got a wonderful wife, I've got a wonderful support system, and we created Outer Realms Paranormal. And honestly, I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, if I were to think of a paranormal and it just came and I was like Outer Realm. And my wife was like, "Oh, that's awesome." And Shani Page, she's like my paranormal sister in the UK. We had a UK division for Outer
I'm
Realm.
still here.
Huh?
She's still here.
I'm still here.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, we have but we had a UK division. We've been going strong for a little over a year, and we're pushing like 2,900 members in a year. So, we're growing, but the thing I've just found is I network with so many people, and I have met some really great people networking, and I truly believe that if you open yourself and you do network, not only will you grow, but you can help other people grow as well. And that's my motto for my team is be the change that you want to see. And you have to, sorry, my wife is walking in the door, guys.
Oh, nice.
It's okay. We do have a question from Boo Productions Paranormal in Toledo. What is the International Order of Exorcists?
It is Archbishop Ronald Fale. Archbishop Enright. He started the International Order in 1982. They are Catholic. They are 100% Catholic. But some of the people that we have for the International Order are not Catholic. Some are Episcopal, some are, but the main part of that, he is an archbishop. He is he is commissioned under the Vatican. So a lot of the cases that are gone go through them, and it's a very credible order. Like I said, he's been around since 82. He's been doing this since 1982. So we we get cases every single day. Like I get emails of it every single day, and there's cases that come up, 4, 5, 6 times a day, and we get them. And whatever area that you're at, you'll get the calling from it, and you have to be able to identify it too. People do believe that they're having demonic activity and stuff like that. Well, that's up to us to be able to go on there and actually identify, if it is, because, a person can believe all day that they're having demonic activity. but if they don't meet the qualification behind it, and we can identify other things outside of demonic that but the international order has been around since 1982, and they're going as strong. You can look them up online. But they have a podcast on Saturdays. Actually today, yeah, today. And he has doctors, and I mean, there's some really, really good, credible people that you can learn a lot about exorcisms and spiritual warfare and demonology and things of that nature.
Interesting. We have another question. Ryan said, have you ever heard of the HPC, Human Paranormal Capabilities Research, the government groups of the CIA and DOD?
Is that where they channel frequencies in the head? I'm trying to figure, because I know there's several that do testings on people to where it invites them to go into like deeper realms. I don't know if it's the same thing, but I have not heard of the one that you're referring to. I'd like to learn more about that. But is that the one with frequencies, where they test the frequencies, of the brain, and to see how far they can tap into that side of the brain that goes in? And because they've always been trying to find levels to where if it gets that if they can push the person right up to a demonic encounter, what, if they can identify the behaviors and identify everything. And to me, I think that's dangerous to do. You pushing somebody all the way to a realm to where they're going to experience demonic, infestations or oppression or things like that. That's extremely dangerous, because there's no amount of science that you can do that is worth testing, your health and your safety, when you're dealing with something like that. But that's a good question. I mean, I'd like to find out more about that too, because I'm sure the government, they have lots of testing like that with people with like supernatural minds and stuff. I would definitely like to learn more about that.
Here. Okay. Well, in response to the last answer you gave, Jeff was afraid of that answer because the order is full of self-appointed exorcists that have no affiliation with any kind of church.
What is it?
Oh, he said that he was afraid of that answer because the order is full of self-appointed exorcists that have no affiliation with any kind of church.
Some of them we have found that they are self-appointed, but honestly, like, why would you want to consider yourself an exorcist if you have not been, commissioned and called by God? God equips the called. He doesn't call the equipped.
Right.
So I do agree with him. There are some self-appointed people out there. There's people out there that should not even have the term priest or exorcist or anything attached to their names because of some of the things that they do. And it's horrible, because then you have really good people that are out there that really do want to test and really help people. And then you have people that make it look bad. And there are people like that. And, should they do more of a thorough background on people? I mean, I guess, but I don't have. I think dealing with those kind of people, like, I think, like the Bible says, you have to test the fruits of the spirit. If you don't feel comfortable with how they're doing things, that's your inner self. That's God speaking to you, saying, hey, this is not of me. I don't do it. I don't approve of this. And But I do agree with you. I think every single person that does has some people that are in there that shouldn't have the term exorcist even put anywhere near them.
Mm-hmm. So Ryan did respond. He said, yes, there are sound frequencies that are used in some of the tests, teleconsis or telepathy. Okay.
Telepathy. Yep.
Telepathy.
Telepathy. Yeah, that's what I was
You
asking,
get it.
because if they tap into that side of your brain,
Yep.
because it's like it's like a psychic kind of testing, where they push the boundaries, what's the name of that show? There's a show where they take paranormal investigators and they take them inside this big warehouse kind of thing, and they lay them on these beds, and they tie them up, and
yeah. I can't think of it, but I have seen it.
I have to. I don't know why I can't think of it. But a lot of the equipment that they do there, they test all those things too: telepathy, the psychic ability, and they see how close they can go into the another realm, without being affected, on a permanent level.
Yeah. Boo Productions has another question. How do they get in the order then if their screening process that bad?
I don't think that the screening process is that bad. I think that people want to be involved in it, but I mean, guys, listen. I mean, there's schools, there's classes, there's things like that. This is not for everybody. And I'd say that to anyone. A lot of these people that claim to be exorcists and stuff like that, like, they have no business doing that. It's not for everybody. And I'm telling you, if you're thinking about getting into an exorcist or things like that, look, I could think of a million other things that could make you happier and more complete than doing this kind of work, because it is dangerous work. It is not for everybody. Anybody that deals with true spiritual warfare, true issues of demonic and stuff like that, this is not something fun that you get into. This is not things that you see on TV. So anybody that tries to put it out there like, oh, I'm trying to build my YouTube channel by doing these exorcisms. First of all, you put an exorcism, or you put a so-called exorcism on YouTube to get views, do you not think that that's not even moral?
Mm-hmm.
And I think you really have to have an understanding, of people, and you have good people inside, even the order, or outside, and then you have people that should have no business dealing with spiritual warfare or anything at all. And I mean, it doesn't matter where you are, it doesn't matter what you're a part of. You're always going to have certain people that should not be there.
Okay, Pomp wants to know, says, Laura, does your guest know Biff? Do you know Biff Sanders?
I don't even know Biff.
Oh my gosh. Remember like I was telling you about the ones that really have no business?
Well, okay, good. He's on the list.
Yeah. Yeah, because he has no affiliation at all. He was trying to tell people that he had an affiliation with the International Order and stuff like that. We've asked, we've already seen, because he'll try to get on a paranormal page or whatever, and then he posts these exorcisms on there, and you can clearly see the mental health issues, the things like that, drug issues, things of that nature. And I mean, just the way that he does things, it is so unmoral. It is, I mean, it's just not, it's not even funny.
Mm-hmm.
So have you guys seen him too?
I don't even know of him.
Yeah, I've had an experience with Biff. I had to block Biff.
You what?
I had to block him.
It's
As far as I'm concerned, the man does have some mental issues, and I don't want to deal with that or have that on my show.
so crazy. It's so crazy. And the thing is, like Archbishop Enright or whatever, he does these demonology, demonic seminars and things like that, and Biff will show up there, and he'll show up there just to get it on film that he's there with them.
Right.
I mean, it's so crazy. That's so funny that you guys mentioned him, because when I was referring to people that should not be in, he was the first person I thought of.
Yeah, he's stalking everybody. Yeah, because another thing is that Boo says that he can't trust any order that gives a man a certificate, and he has a certificate from them apparently.
Mm-hmm.
No, no, you don't get it. No.
All right. We also have another Biff apparently has a certificate through that order.
I don't know, because I just got off the phone with an archbishop. I got 2 archbishops and Archbishop Enright, and he is no affiliation at all.
Oh, gee, look. Speak of the devil and he appears. Well, we'll ask this question first. How long is the apprenticeship period? Somebody wants to know, SoCal, Kaylee Highlander wants to know, how long is the apprenticeship period?
I don't really, I've only been affiliated with the International Order for a couple months now, but I've been studying theology with spiritual warfare for 28 years. And I mean, if you go into an apprenticeship and you go right underneath exorcism, I mean, you have some true testing that you have to do. This is not something where you could just be like, hey, I just want to be an exorcist. I mean, you have to really be called. You have to really get in and know your place in there. And it could be 4 or 5 years sometimes getting in to do the proper training.
Okay, well, speaking of Biff, he's here, and he says he's been doing exorcisms for 15 years before that. Order gave me a certificate after proving that my work is real.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good. That's good. Hey, if it works for you, it works for you. But I do know that I mean, like, whether you want to see it or not, but your videos make people feel uncomfortable, man. And anybody that really does credible work in spiritual warfare and things like that, it makes people feel uncomfortable. And first of all, you should not be posting on YouTube these people's lives that are being affected by quote unquote demonic activity to put on YouTube. And that is not how an exorcism goes. 100%. That is not how an exorcism goes. And if you think that's the right way, that's kudos to you. But I'm telling you, it makes people feel uncomfortable. The way that it's done, the way that you put it out there. I mean, man. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
All right, Bill.
That should be the last we hear of him, because
he's bye-bye. So I want to ask you, Shane. So how do you feel about the portrayal of exorcism and the paranormal in movies and televisions? Does it help or render public understanding?
Honestly, with the way that YouTube and stuff is, it has this identifiable mark, to where, you think that exorcism like something from a Hollywood movie or something like that. And that they shouldn't even be categorized the same, because they're nothing like that. They are nothing like that. And I think with the way that Hollywood has mainstreamed it, people have mainstreamed it, YouTube, and you got these paranormal teams that are following what they see in movies. And then you have, you should never ever follow what Hollywood or YouTube or anything like that, because it makes, being an exorcist, it gives it a really bad name, because then you have people like, that just think, oh, I think I can do this, and then they get on there and do it, and they really affect people.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the last thing anybody wants to hear.
I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen his videos, man, but I mean, like,
yeah, I've seen one. Yeah,
they make me that I watched that, and I mean, I felt my stomach turning. Like, I could not believe what I was seeing, and I'm like, are you serious? And like him stroking their hair and stuff like that, and then him getting face to face with them. He's like, look into my eyes, and like he tells these people that he is an archangel.
Yeah.
What? Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Kudos to you.
He's got some mental issues, and hopefully he can have it taken care of. Tell us what happens when you do have to perform a deliverance or exorcism, whatever you prefer to refer to. What is the process? What tools do you bring to the table to take care of this?
I have got an entire prayer deliverance that I use. There's certain particular prayers that you use. I use holy water. I use oil. I use holy oil, and I use specific like blessed salts, stuff like that. And I mean, but there's a lot of prayers that you got to use, and a lot of like see, if I would have known that you guys asked all this, I would have put like a lot of the prayers that we use to where you can actually see them. And I've got copies of them and things. I can send you guys copies of them.
Yeah, definitely.
But we, there's so many things that you use. And like I said, it's so very rare, to really get a true demonic, but a lot of the same issues, like when you do a clearing and cleansing of a house and stuff like that, you use the same process. When you go through, you do the blessing of the house, you do, and I do it a little bit more thorough. Like when I do a cleansing of a house, I hit every single wall with the whole, because the holy water is a direct representation of the blood of Jesus Christ. It's a direct representation. So you put that on the wall and say, I seal this wall with the sign of the cross and the blood of Jesus Christ. I go to every single wall and do that. Go to every single window, hit the windows. I close all entryways, doorways, and portals. I do a very thorough cleansing, and you do that whether it has a demonic case to it or whether it's, a haunting or anything. It all works the same until you get to that. If you have someone that's experiencing beyond oppression, that's where it needs to really start, because when you have demonic oppression and going into possession, it is so rapidly fast. I mean, the person is going to go into a possessed state, within a matter of hours or days.
Haunted Truth wants to know if you're using the Roman ritual.
I am not Roman Catholic, but if you were doing, I use a lot of the same prayers, same things that they used, but that you do use a lot of the Roman ritual, but you have to know there is a difference in between exorcisms and deliverance. We all working for the same thing. We want to take care of the spiritual warfare nature of whatever activity is going on. We want to help there, but there is a different way that a deliverance and an exorcism will do things, and I use a little bit of them all.
He also wants to know if you use Latin.
Do I use Latin?
Yes.
No. I don't think I can speak Latin if I wanted to. I'm a Southern guy. You know, you could take a Southern guy and try to speak Latin. Right, man. I have a hard enough time speaking English.
English. Oh, okay. She's well, everybody's finding this very interesting. Come on, guys.
Yeah. I actually have a question though. How do you see the relationship between different spiritual beliefs and practices when it comes to the paranormal?
That's a really good question, you know, and that's the reason why I started the podcast that I do, because, you know, I'm interested in knowing too, you know, because I use a Christian theological background. Of course I do. That's what works for me. But my whole purpose is I want to find out from other people what works for you. You know, if you were called to help a family, you know, what works for you? What would you do? You know, I want to learn all that too. And I think it's very important in understanding and to where people can bridge this gap, because I'm just so tired of there being a separation in between like paranormal and clergy. And I'm trying to bridge that gap. And I want to find out from different people, whether you do occult work, whether, you know, you do, you know, Roman Catholic, or, you know, whatever you do, you know, I want to hear from you, because I want to see what works for you. And I never down anybody for what they do. I never say, hey, why do you do that? Because listen, let's be honest. If it works for you, it works for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yes. Julie wants to know if you have a YouTube channel.
No, I use Facebook, but if you look under All Access Network Television, my podcasts are on every single Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern. I always have some really, really good guests on there. But you know, just check that out, and check out Outer Realms Paranormal on Facebook.
Okay, Michael, I have another question for you. I'm sorry, Susan.
No, go ahead.
As far as, I mean, you know, your clergy and all that, you do say you believe in the paranormal and paranormal experiences. What are your beliefs that we become after we leave the physical body?
Hold on 1 second. You're breaking. Say that last part again.
I wanted to know what your beliefs are, what we become after we leave the physical body.
Oh, well, you know, a lot of people have this belief that you go right to heaven. You know what I mean? And that's not true at all, because if you read in the book of Thessalonians, it says that the dead in Christ will rise first. Where are they rising from?
Mm-hmm.
Where are they rising from? So, you know, if you have someone that goes in and has a horrific car accident, you know, or, you know, any, you know, things of that nature, and they have a horrific car accident and it's traumatic, you know, I mean, they could be stuck. They could be stuck in limbo. I do believe that in the Bible, this is that the dead in Christ will rise first, and the ones that are here will not supersede the ones that have already gone. I believe that your body will meet your spirit. And that's another thing. How many heavens biblically do you think there are?
I would think only one, right?
3.
Huh.
There's 3. If you look in the very first book of the Bible, it says that God created the heavens and the earth. In the book of Ephesians, it says that you're battling prince and principalities in the heavenly realms with an S.
Mm.
And also Paul said in Thessalonians, he goes, I know a disciple, whether in body or out of body, was lifted to the third heaven, and what he saw his eyes and ears could not comprehend. No. Then we look in the book of Job, and it says that the sons of men, which are angels, came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan was with them. Satan was kicked out of the throne of God. He cannot be anywhere near the throne of God, but he can still walk with the angels. I believe that there's levels to it. You know, you got the sun, the moon, the stars. I mean, dude, why does this keep doing this, dude? It's these gremlins, man.
Yeah.
We have all these gremlins today. Laura
I know.
and
Yeah.
I know. I had a gremlin knock over my coffee cup just a minute ago. That's sure.
must be signs they didn't want the show to go on.
Yeah, and it said, but it said in the book of Job that the sons of man, which are the angels, can present themselves before the Lord, and Satan was with them. You know, Paul said in the book of Romans that his invisible attributes and his divine nature have been clearly seen since the creation of time, that man will be left without excuse. The sun, the moon, the stars. You know, there's billions of stars out there, and the Bible says that God knows them by name. And the interesting thing about that is that we can see these stars, but not one person has ever reached a star. We are 93 million miles away from the sun, and we're just far enough to where you can plant a seed in the ground and the sun will help that grow. We are on an axis. If we were 1 degree this way, we would freeze. 1 degree this way, we would overheat. Who put it on that axis? So there's different levels. I think that the kingdom, that the throne of God is where Satan was kicked out of. I think the angels are in the middle heaven, and that's where they are walking. And I think that's where a lot of the resting point for where when people you know they pass, there's a resting point there. And but there's definitely 3 heavens, and I do believe that you do not go, you know, straight, because honestly, let's just put it out there. Why would God invite you into his presence and his throne to pull you back out to be judged? You know what I mean? Why would he put you in paradise to pull you back out to be judged to see if you're going to go back to paradise? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yep. Okay, Haunted Truth says, I'm wondering why there are different types of exorcisms and various beliefs, not just Christianity, and why they all seem to work. Is it the belief in the deity, the intention behind it, or the psychology?
Faith, will, and intention. It takes those 3. No matter, you have to have faith in what you're doing. You have to have will behind it, and your intention behind what you're doing has to meet them both. And if you have those and it works, then you can very easily make that work. And I mean, you think about how, man, you go to Africa, you know, the way that they've been dealing, you know, with demonic activities. Then you got Central America. You know, they have different ways that they do them. You know, I mean, every culture has their way of dealing with the devil. And it's good to really get in and find out, you know, about these different cultures, you know, because that's why I started that podcast, because I want to know what people use, the different cultures that they have. You know, what are your beliefs behind it? Because I'm very interested in knowing that myself.
All right. Haunted Truth. No, there's never too many questions. That's what
I know. Ask away. Ask
all the questions you want to answer. Ask,
Yep.
and we'll answer to the best of our abilities.
Mm-hmm.
So ask away.
Please do.
Yes. Are there any books, documentaries, or resources do you recommend those interested in learning more about the spirit, supernatural, and the spiritual welfare?
Well, spiritual welfare or spiritual warfare?
Warfare.
Okay. Now, if you want to read a really interesting book, that will teach you about hell and things of that, it's called A Divine Revelation of Hell by Mary K. Baxter. Mary K. Baxter wrote a book to where she was taking in spirit by Jesus into the belly of hell. And she describes it as being shaped like a human body, like a sinful human body. And there's different caverns, and there's like it I read that book from start to finish in one sitting. But that will give you a good Dante's Inferno. That's another one that talks about and you learn about the hierarchy and things like that of hell, because the same way that you have archangels in heaven, you have a hierarchy of demons in hell too. But look up A Divine Revelation of Hell by Mary Kay Baxter. Spiritual warfare. This book, like this is called Liber Christo. That's Liber Christo, and it is a field manual for spiritual combat. It looks like a Bible. It has silver lining pages. It's really good, because what this guy has done is he has taken military tactics of guerrilla warfare, and he has used those to fight in spiritual warfare battles. So if you look up Liber Christo method, that's what you want to look up right there. That is a powerful manual that you can get for anybody who's fighting in spiritual warfare.
Okay, Julie has a question. So if the dead in Christ will rise, what happens to the people who are cremated?
Your body is cremated, not your soul. I've wondered that too. Because the Bible talks about there's a new there's a new body. This body that's here on earth, this right here is just a shell. This is a shell here. It's like we're on a large campus. Sorry. I've got some very unruly cats in this house. But no, this is all a show, So I've wondered that too, about people that are cremated. Like there's some out there that believe that if you're not buried, it's against God, to be cremated and stuff like that. And I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure about that, but I do know that when you leave here, you will have a new body that is created, a new body, like in a pure spiritual form. And I believe that your soul will meet your body, and that's the combination of them both. When God said he created a new heaven and a new earth, it's the same way that he creates a new body for you, where your soul, because your soul doesn't die. Your soul cannot be cremated. Your soul doesn't belong to you. It's like when people say that I sold my soul to the devil. You can't do that, because first of all, your soul doesn't belong to you. It belongs to God.
Exactly.
Haunted Truth actually has another question. So the heaven thing, I was informed that it said you go to purgatory first before reaching heaven.
Catholic. Yep.
This conception is also mentioned in ancient Egyptian beliefs, where they weigh your heart.
Yep. Because what it is that if you pass from this earth with unresolved, purgatory was supposed to be a point where you are cleansed, you are replenished. You are getting set to where you're going to be. That's the play. And every culture has that same thing, just like you said, the Egyptians, Mesopotamians, things of that nature. They all speak of a purgatory there, but it's all a cleansing. It's all where if you really look it up, it's for purification.
Okay.
Yeah, we're all having squirrely issues here. I thought I was.
I'm scrolling down.
How's that drink?
It's awesome. I'm just don't want to miss anybody with questions.
Right.
Let's see here.
but that's strictly just their belief.
Yep.
Yeah, like you talking about reincarnation
for,
and stuff like that.
well, no, he says that the Catholics don't believe in cremation.
Yeah,
Mhm.
well, that's like I said, that's just, I think it's a personal thing.
Yeah.
I think it's personal. You know, my wife's mother passed away of ovarian cancer, and she's literally right here. She's right here with us.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Right next to my wife. You know, so I mean, I think that's a personal issue there, but I don't think it has this body right here. A lot of people put too much emphasis on this right here. This is not who you are. This is not who you are. You may look like this in the mirror, but from the day that you're born to the day that you pass, you were born into death. From the day that you're born, you started dying.
Yep.
This is going to go. Your body's going to go.
Mhm.
But what never will go, never will cease is your soul, your spirit that God created inside of you. That will live and reign forever.
Now, when people look up to find help for certain situations, where can they check your credentials to make sure you're the person that they need?
Get down. You can look it up. You can look at, I mean, I've got all my, I mean, if you see on my wall right over there, there's my license, there's my ordination. I have got a video of my ordination where I was commissioned in 2016. You know, I mean, really honestly, you know, you can have all the paperwork that you want to in the world.
Mhm.
You can have all the paperwork that you want to in the world. But if you are not called, if you do not have a calling from God to do this kind of work, there is no sense, there's no credential in the world. Because listen, and this is the honest truth right here, God equips the called. He doesn't call the equipped. You will know them by their fruits. You will know them by how they, I have got I have got so many letters of recommendation from people that I have helped. Matter of fact, my wife and I are going to be on a show. Now, I don't usually like this at all, but my client wanted his story to be told. If you look up winter, summer, in the fall, it's my haunted hometown.
Mhm.
My wife and I, on one of my cases that I worked, we're actually going to be on that show, and my client wanted his story told. So I have letters of recommendation, and I mean, people should be able to produce all that, you know, to give all that, you
Right.
know. And but like I said, if you see on the wall right there, there's my license and my ordination. I've got letters of recommendations. I've got certificates. I've got hours upon hours upon hours upon, you know, I mean, and seriously, you can honestly tell if someone knows what they're talking about, you know, especially when it comes to spiritual warfare issues, because like I said, it's not for everybody. People
Mhm.
can preach on it because they look at Ephesians 6 in the Bible, and it talks about the whole armor of God, and they think that's everything to do with spiritual warfare. No. There's spiritual warfare from the Old Testament. There's spiritual warfare in Thessalonians. There's some in Colossians. There's some in Ephesians. There's some in Revelations. It's all over the Bible. So you have to, just as the Bible says, study to show yourself approved unto God. God is going to equip you if you are called to do the work that you are called to do. If you're not, you will be shown that you're not supposed to be there doing it.
Okay, Haunted Truth says, what's your thoughts on paranormal investigators and people like mediums and messing with these types of things?
What what are my thoughts on mediums?
That and paranormal investigators.
Oh, I think they're great. I think I'm a paranormal investigator, but I'm also a minister. But see, here's the thing: I'm not a paranormal clergy. I am a clergy that works in paranormal. I love the paranormal. I think it's very. I think like with mediums and things like that, in the spiritual warfare or even in ministry, we call that discernment. So when you have those abilities and stuff like that, that's a part of discernment. And I mean, I think this is very much needed because all these things are gifts from God. Now, I mean, like if you've got a medium that uses her skills or his skills or whatever to hurt people, then obviously that's not of God. But I don't think I've met not one single psychic that I've seen that works in paranormal that do things to actually harm people.
But are they do they know how to deal with them if they needed to? I think that's what the question was referring to as well.
Know how to deal with
if they're
what,
not
paranormal?
no, with like demons and things like that, if they're not, if they're not professional, like what
Well, I mean,
let's say,
how would you be able to properly tell if a
mhm,
psychic is?
yeah, that's
I
true.
mean,
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, if it works for you, then it works, but I'm telling you, if you're experiencing an evil entity or demonic or something like that, and
Mhm.
and you have this quote unquote psychic that is trying to call out, that person can get just as affected as somebody being possessed.
Mhm. If they don't know what they're doing.
Mhm.
Definitely. Does anybody else have any questions? Feel free. Ask away.
Get them in
Ask
while you
away.
can.
Get it
And I'm
in.
sorry I keep getting interrupted here, guys, because I have my wife just came in, and every time somebody comes into the house, these cats go absolutely crazy.
Oh,
I really
Jason.
appreciate you guys having me on the show. This has
Oh,
been a very
definitely,
interesting.
definitely.
It's been interesting.
So the Haunted Truth said, I've always thought that in Christian belief, consulting a medium is a big no-go.
Well, again, that's personal belief because
Mhm.
you think you're bordering the line of witchcraft.
Yeah.
It's like is this medium a witch, or is this medium have god-giving abilities that are you I mean it all depends on what your spirit feels about that. With mine, for instance, like I said, I look at them as discernment. And there are a lot of Christian beliefs out there that do believe that if you're psychic, but honestly, God gives you those abilities.
Mm-hmm.
So how would that be witchcraft when it's something that God gave you? You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's also part of the problem, that not everybody will be thinking in that direction.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to go by what pretty much what is said and stated in the Bible. Haunted Tree says Leviticus 19:31, which states, "Do not turn to mediums or seek out spiritists, for you will be defiled by them. I am the Lord your God."
Right. In Leviticus, the first 5 books of the Bible were the law. It's called the Torah: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. So Leviticus in the Levitical orders, that was the establishment of law. Leviticus and Deuteronomy were the establishment of law. That was a lot of the old covenant. The old covenant. When Jesus came to earth and when Jesus died and gave, there was a new covenant that was given. You know, it's like people they speak on the Ten Commandments. Are they still relevant today? Yeah, but Jesus said something. He says, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind." And he said, and the second is to love your neighbor as you love yourself. And he says those two supersede the law. So, yeah, there's a lot of things that you couldn't do, but you got to understand something too. Like when the Ten Commandments, you know, when Moses went up to go at the Ten Commandments, this is how unruly Israel was. He went up to hear from God, and you know, when you know you're going to hear from God, doesn't matter how long you're there. But I guess he was taking too long, and the Israelites built this golden calf and started worshiping the golden calf while he was up there waiting to hear from God. So that is true. It does say that in Leviticus, but that's the Levitical law. That was under the law. We are not under the law anymore. We are under grace.
All right, Julie wants to know, do you think the decline in religious beliefs has opened individuals up to possible possession?
Well, the decline of religious beliefs.
Yes.
I think it's wide open. It's wide open. The Bible says that lawlessness will increase and the love of others will grow cold. That's been happening so very much. And I think with the lack of Christian real biblical teaching and beliefs, then the acceptance level of things, you know, get up. You know, you think when I don't know how old you guys are, but I'm 47. I'm 47, and I know when I was a kid, you know, there was like, you remember like the movie Poltergeist.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, it was rated R, but nowadays that would be PG-13. So the acceptance level has gotten a lot different, you know. So, you know, with the internet and you know the excuses people have, and let me make something very clear too. It is 100% the church's fault why people have turned, because some of the most judgmental people that I've ever known in my entire life sit in a church. And how are you going to make someone feel welcome to come into your church when you judge them for every single thing that they do? And yeah, I do believe that is a huge downfall, and it can be a rise for this spiritual. But the problem with it is that without that religious background, without that, then you are a sitting duck when it comes to spiritual warfare battles.
Mm-hmm. The Haunted Truth says this is true. There are also the facts that the books were handpicked by man and stories removed to fit an overall narrative for the entire Bible, such as the book of Judah was removed.
Right. There were several of them. The Bible has to meet canon. Canon in the Greek literally means standard. So it had to meet. There's 66 canonical books of the Bible. You know, like the Catholics, they have up to 78 books. I mean, I've got the book of Enoch sitting right next to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that was a Bible. Mary Magdalene, where where she came about in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she was very close to Jesus because, he who was without sin cast the first stone. The prostitute. I mean, this lady was infatuated And matter of fact, when Jesus, she was the first one to see Jesus after he was resurrected. So she has her own version of the gospel. There's so many versions out there, but it doesn't meet canonical law. It doesn't meet canon. It doesn't meet a standard. If you took the Bible and you put the Bible in chronological order, it would look a lot different than the way that the Bible is stationed for canon right now.
Mm-hmm. Making sure we have everything.
Good questions, guys. Good questions.
I know. There's very good questions. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Welcome, Steve. You got any questions, Steve?
Yeah, I'm just looking through to make sure I didn't miss any questions.
Yeah. No, I think we're up to date on the questions.
Nice. Nice.
So far. So it's your turn, Susan. Hit them up with a question.
So I just have one question. So what is your ultimate message to viewers about intertwining faith and understanding when dealing with the unknown?
Don't close yourself off, and don't think that your belief is the God-given truth, because leave yourself open to understanding not just people, but their beliefs too, because there's a reason why they believe in what they do. And leave yourself open. My biggest thing is be the change that you want to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how can we be the change when we're too busy pointing fingers and backstabbing and telling people that they're wrong for what they believe? Why don't you try understanding the people, and then maybe you'll understand why they believe what they do.
Right. The Karen Show says, no need to go to church. Just have a belief in God. Take stories from the Bible that make you happy and teach you something. You do not have to go to church to be a good person, in my opinion. And I agree, Karen. Church and the religious reason for church is for fellowship. No matter where you're talking about God, that is church.
Yep. This is we are the temple of God. This is where it is. That's why the Bible said that if two or more come together in my name, I am in the midst. That means two people that are talking about the Spirit of God, talking about the love of God, can form a church right where they are. A church is exactly what it is. It's a building. We as children of God, we are the temple of God. This is where God reigns, right here.
All right. Simon says the gospel, according to Mary, was found in the early church and Christianity kicked off. She was the closest to Jesus. Plus, Jesus would shake his sandals at the American churches right now.
I would not disagree with you. I do believe so. I do believe so. And like I said, that's why you have to be very careful, in the Bible. That's why it says study to show yourself approved unto God.
Right. You think for yourself.
That's exactly right. You need to learn for your own understanding. You have to let God speak to you through his word. It doesn't matter what this pastor says or this guy says or whatever says or what I say. It doesn't matter. Study to show yourself approved unto God. Let God speak to you. And then once God speaks to you, what could man tell you when God is telling you one thing?
Right. Question from Boo Productions. How many demonic cases have you been involved in?
4.
There you go. 4.
4.
Cut and dry. 4.
Yeah, I mean, it seriously, because a lot of them, can be explained other ways. Not everything is demonic. I am not a believer in dropping demonic word unless it's 100% factual. I am never going to drop that. I am going to look, like, my first rule in my paranormal team is debunk everything obvious first. Shouldn't you do the same thing when it comes to before you're dropping a demonic? You should eliminate everything else first, right? the physical part of it, the
Right.
psychological assessments, the physiological. I mean, you should eliminate all those things first.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me see here.
Ian has our next question, Susan.
Okay. So Ian says, I recent weeks in the phrase empathy is a sin has been doing the rounds in the certain Christian circles. How does the terminology fit in with the teachings of Christ?
What, empathy?
Mm-hmm.
Empathy. I think we all should have, we should have a level of empathy, right? I mean, we should all, if we say that we care about people, and one of my prayers that I talk when I say is, I say, God, let me see and love people the way that you do. Isn't that having an empathy, for people?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very important. I think you should. And I think you should, if you call yourself a Christian, the very first thing that you should do is look outside of yourself, because it's not about you. And I think that's the hardest thing for people to realize, that it's not about you. You being a Christian is not about you. You being a Christian is so that you can show the world around you Christ that lives inside of you. And you can show the empathy and the love and the nature of Christ through you, because it's not about you in the first place.
So yeah, and Karen says empathy, yes, is so
It's
important.
so important. It is. Definitely.
Ian says it was from an evangelical folks. They are an odd bunch.
Well, I mean, you have some, and I do agree with you. Like evangelicals, they have some but they have some really good ones, and then they have some really crazy ones. You have some evangelicals that like to dance around the church, and then you have some of them that literally will have rattlesnakes on the front of their church and think that they are protected from the Spirit of God, that they can grab the head of these rattlesnakes because the Bible said that you will trample the head of the serpents. So I mean, yeah, you have evangelicals that are crazy like that. But then again, you have to be able to test the fruits of the Spirit. If it works for you and you feel like that is your method of connecting with God, is grabbing the head of a rattlesnake, like, I'm not here to tell you that you shouldn't do that. My personal belief is I would never, ever do that. Why would you test something whose sole ability is to poison you by biting you? And you want to test that? Oh,
Yeah, well, I do believe that most churches and pastors and priests, they pick and choose scripture to suit an agenda that they have for their congregation.
they can. Yeah.
Yeah, the majority of them do.
Yeah.
So I always, tell people, you read it for yourself.
Yeah.
You don't just pick out one section of scripture and you roll with that, because
Right.
the rest of the story is still on that page.
Right.
You have to read the whole thing.
That's what I'm saying. Study to show yourself approved unto God. It's better to do that. It's better to have an understanding, because first of all, you have to understand, who you are. You have to understand who God is. You have to understand what God does in your life, and you have to understand how you take the nature that God has given you and put it out into the other world. And it's not a one point of view kind of way, and I think people have gone wrong from that. I think people have gone astray. That's why you hear the term, Bible thumpers and stuff like that. I don't want somebody coming at me like that either. It's not comfortable. I mean, like this conversation that we're having here, this is something that we could talk about anywhere, having a glass of wine, doing anything like, we can, or whatever that fancy drink that you have there.
I have ginger ale.
She's
but I
got a fancy
also,
drink.
yeah.
Fancy.
I always, stress to people that, you have to be open. You have to be open to other beliefs, other traditions.
Yep.
Because the true word of God is there.
Yep.
When you start picking and choosing things that it teaches and it promotes division.
Yeah.
Among mankind, pretty much.
That's the biggest downfall. That's the biggest downfall right there.
Yeah.
That's why people like they don't like to talk politics or religion, because
They don't agree.
it creates a sour taste in your mouth, when it comes, because different people believe different things, and instead of accepting the people in what they believe, it's just easier to cast them off and throw them off because of what they believe, instead of actually knowing who the real person is.
Right. Okay, let's see what we've got here.
Scroll down.
See, Simon says he goes, I knew a Catholic who had been stuck in shame for being gay for years. Just offended. Just offed himself. So sorry to hear that. Yes. Well, because they're strict on that, being homosexual, because it does say in there that it is a sin.
Yeah.
But to this day and age, we're not here to judge. It's not our job to judge. It's God's job to judge.
It's
so
not.
You're going to have to face your own judgment when your time comes.
Right. And they know that too. They know that. Yeah. They know that, because I'm telling you, anybody that will tell you that, I mean, it is not our job, to judge them for who and what they are. That is not our place. We are supposed to love people right where they are. Yep. And God will sort out the do's and the don'ts. That is not our job. We tried to take this God complex to a whole different level, and we bring judgment that is unnecessary into parts of people's lives in the world that don't need to be there.
Well, yep, it's not our place. Let's see. He said, he goes, I gave up on church because I was kicked out because I'm gay. There are a lot of liberal churches, but there are still those in the congregation who were judgmental and pushed me out.
And I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry for that, because no one should have ever done that to you. Exactly. Because how would you ever be able to see the true love and full nature of Christ being judged by what you feel is right? That is not our job. And I'm sorry that happened to you. That should have never happened to you. You should have been welcomed. You should have been loved on. You should have been shown the love of Christ. And then, let you and God work out the sins that are in your life. That's not for me to point out. That's not for me to kick you out. That's not for me to tell you that you can and cannot do things. That is not my place. My place is to love God first and foremost, with all my heart, with all my soul, with all my mind. And the second is to love my neighbor as I love myself. You are my neighbor, no matter what you are. I'm commanded to love you right where you are. I'm commanded. Now, do I have to accept behaviors or characteristics of that person? No, but that has nothing to do with the way that I live my life. The way that you live your life is something that you're going to have to answer for, but that's not my job to judge you for how you live.
Right. Yes, Simon, he just pretty much answers that. And, yes, Jesus does say you love your neighbor as you would love thyself. So yes, that's where they cross the line, because the judgmental part steps in.
And it's crazy, because because all you're doing is putting this God complex out there that turns people away from from really believing in God. When you take someone who has just as much sin in their life and you're saying, oh, you shouldn't do that, it's against God. Well, if you're
Right.
without sin, you cast the first stone.
Exactly.
And I don't think any of us have the right to do that. Now, I do believe that there's a willful, a knowing and unknowing sin. And I do believe that that's you have to answer for things like that. But it, for me to be able to point at you and tell you the do's and don'ts and why I don't believe you or I don't believe in you, that is totally in contrary to anything that is truly gospel in nature.
Right. He also says, before you mention the splinter in my eye, look at the beam in your own.
Right,
Yeah,
right, right.
exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Everybody, people
Mhm.
can read scripture. You could have 10 different people in the room reading the same passages, and each person will have a different interpretation of the meaning. So if you're ever confused, just keep reading it and reading it
Yeah,
over, and then you will discover on your own what that meaning is for you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because you have to keep yourself open. I've made it a mission, in my life to really just kind of love and meet people right where they are. You know, people don't go to God because they have it all together.
Mhm.
People go to God because they're in search for something that they were missing in their life. And if you are that link to where you can connect that person to God on a level of love and empathy and understanding, and you mess that up for them, then they may never believe or talk to God again. And I never want to be that kind of person. I never want to be that kind of person that will steer somebody away from God. I
Right.
want when people see and they talk to me, I want them to know that I love them right where they are for who they are. I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to love you. And I'm here to show you the love of God. And I think if that was shown in a more reasonable capacity, then we would have more people in churches today. We would have more churches filled today. We wouldn't have empty seats in the church because, the gospel is a wonderful message. It's a wonderful message for you to be able to break down and understand where that fits in your life too.
Yeah, exactly. So Simon commented saying, I was brought up in a Christian family. They don't exactly like it, but they love me for me. They are my adopted parents.
So, well,
Yep.
that's good. They're
Yeah,
loving you
that's
for who
good.
you are.
Yep.
Um, uh, the personal stuff is your personal stuff, and
We are
they can't
not
judge
here.
you.
We are not here to judge. It's like, when I first got into paranormal, because, I had people looking at me and they were like, how are you, a pastor, but yet you deal with the paranormal. Well, I mean, if again you look into the Bible, and if you look, I mean, when Jesus' disciples were with him, he went up to the mount, and Jesus had a transfiguration moment, and there were two ghosts right there with him. It was Elijah and Moses standing right next to Jesus in a very glorified form. So you have a supernatural encounter, and then you have Christ resurrected from the dead, which is another supernatural thing. So, I mean, you have supernatural elements that are in the Bible. So
Mm-hmm.
why close yourself off to that when I know for a fact, I know the experience that I had when I was 10 years old. I know. There's nothing that someone can tell me differently. And I think there's a lot of judgment. I think there's a lot of backstabbing, it's the same way, and it's sad because the paranormal used to not be like that, but now it's almost like people are looking at the paranormal like a religious experience, like you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
the same characteristics that you see when people get hurt or something in church, they're doing the same thing with the paranormal. And it's crazy that it's gotten like that. And that's what my goal is it's bridging that gap, to letting the world know that there are clergy like myself out here that will love you right there for who you are, that understand who you are, what you're about, what you're going through. And I want to know you as a person. And then we pray together to let God work out the do's, the don'ts, the can'ts and cannots.
Hmm. That's
Uh,
awesome.
yeah, Simon has a question. He says, was Jesus a medium and a healer?
Jesus was a son of God. Um, Jesus was born, so I mean, whether you look at him as a medium, like he can foresee things, he can know things from the past. When Jesus when Jesus went to a synagogue, they said that he opened up and he would speak what was already written. But if you look in the book of John, it says, in the beginning was the word, and the word was with God, and the word was God. So see, the word of God is Jesus. So Jesus is so much more than a medium, because there's mediums that are limited to what they can do. Jesus was he was unlimited. He could heal. He can make the blind see. He can make the lame walk. He can foresee. Things that are happening. You know if you look at the book of Isaiah in the Bible, Isaiah 53, it talks about the suffering servant. And that was actually 747 years before Jesus came to earth, and Jesus fulfilled everything. Jesus said, I didn't come to change the law, I came to fulfill what was already written.
Mhm.
So see, how would he know if he wasn't there 747 years before he came to earth? He knew exactly what he needed to do. So I think to say that, is Jesus a medium or anything like that, you're really categorizing the Son of God. And you know you can't really do that. You can't, because he's so much more than that.
Wonderful, wonderful answer.
Yes. Does anybody have any questions? Because believe it or not, it's been an hour and a half.
Wow. Yeah. Oh
Time
wow. Yeah,
flies,
it's been
huh?
almost 2 hours. Yeah.
So, Shane, can you tell us what is? Do you have any events or anything coming up? What is the future for you?
Um, but I've got a Paracon that I'll be speaking at, Shadows, and what's it called? It's May 3rd in Tennessee. And I'll be speaking on that. I'll be speaking demonology. I'll be talking about grounding, protecting, clearing, cleansing, things like that, and just opening to help teams and stuff like that with spiritual warfare issues. Identifying, being able to properly clear and cleanse and stuff like that. That is my purpose. That's my goal in doing this. And of course, I work residential cases. I don't really get to go on a lot of these locations and things of that, because I work a lot of residential cases. But I'm hoping that 2025 opens up and that I'll get more venues where I can speak publicly, or go to some of these locations and check out some of these locations, because I love this, guys. I love doing this. I love being in this field. I love the people that I've met, and I want to I want to be exposed to much more, and I want to meet all of you. So you guys, let's make this happen. Let's all meet together somewhere. Let's go eat an omelet or something.
Thank you, Jamie.
Yes, thank you. I'm
Well,
glad everybody enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's been a great show. So, Shane, where can everybody find you?
Again, my name is Shane McLain. My wife's name is Angie McLain. She is my boss. My wife is a healer. Um, uh, you can find us both on Outer Realms Paranormal. You can find us on All Access Network Television Production. Please look them up and find us. My podcast is on Mondays at 7 p.m. It's Bridging the Seen and Unseen. We're going to have some wonderful guests there. So I'd love to see you all there. And I appreciate everybody that's been here, that's been asking questions. I love it when people make my brain stir. And that's exactly what's happened since I've been here because,
We
you
put you
guys,
to the test.
you guys have made me like really think about things, and that's good for me though.
It's definitely, we have phenomenal viewers that came in and the mods, of course.
Thank
But
you guys.
we're going to end the show. We're going to have Shane join us to end the show. Everyone, please, thank you very much for joining. And Laura, do you have any last words?
Just thanks to everybody. Thanks to the mods. Thanks for getting the Biff out of the room. We appreciate that.
I can't believe he showed up. I cannot believe
I believe
he showed
it. I believe it. So, and thank you, Shane. We got some great information off of you, and I look forward to everybody joining us again.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you guys so much for having me. It's been a blast.
Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody. And tune in to the next time.